going to start recording the meeting. Thank you so much for recording the meeting, David. And for those who have accessibility needs, if you click on the ellipses, there should be some options for you for transcription. Additionally, if you're not speaking, these are things that we have learned from working with our partners over at OIT, our friends, that if you're not speaking at that moment, just make sure that you kind of mute yourself so that we don't get feedback on the phone call, and just say who you are and with who you are working with or which organization you're coming from. Before we get started proper, a few things. Just make sure that if you have comments or questions that you put those in the chat. We have a few staff members that are going to be monitoring the chat and asking for you to raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, so again, I know that a lot of people are still logging in. We're going to give it a few minutes before we get started, but I think we're almost, this looks like a good number. Right on. So first off, we just wanted to have another power user group. Let me see if I can mute those people. Hi guys, as you are logging into the call, go ahead and mute your microphone to prevent feedback on the call. I greatly appreciate it, but let's go ahead and get started. First, we wanted to say thank you for being here. We wanted to have an additional PUG because there was a little bit of confusion, and we wanted to make sure that we have a chance to address any additional questions and concerns that you might have. Now, the agenda is going to be a little bit of an abbreviated agenda because we just had a PUG on 27th September. But again, this is just an opportunity to make sure that we reach out to you as we come close to the rollout of the upgrade. So without any additional delays, we're going to go ahead and get started. Housekeeping, we always have our website for resources, for training, to provide feedback, and for all things Drupal, that is cms.colorado.gov. Again, the session will be recorded and made available. We are using YouTube to make sure that we expedite the process and have those recordings available to you, and also to make space and take space and always be respectful of other people's feedback and the whole process. The agenda items are very few. We're going to go over the Drupal 10 upgrade rollout schedule. We're going to talk about the training and support schedule, and then we're going to open it up for questions that y'all might have. So for the timeline, a message was sent out on Monday to the recent users of all of the 520 sites. So you should have received a notification from either David or from myself explaining the timeline. The communication would have looked something like this.
And Cecilia, I just want to chime in for folks who received that. Just I know for this group, which is really a special group and super valuable for us, but also I think you guys, everybody on this call knows that when we send out communications like that and we're communicating about the upgrade as a whole outside of PUG, we have a lot of people out there who aren't regularly paying attention. They're not necessarily in the weeds. They might not be really intensive users. So remember, we're trying to make sure that our communication fits all audiences. And then we have PUG meetings and other one-on-ones where, particularly for a lot of you who are intensive users, we're making sure that we're available. So just recall that when we've got this upgrade schedule, we've got a lot of sites out there which are very kind of plug and play type of interactions and probably differ quite a bit from, say, Corey or others out there of you out there that have quite an intensive engagement.
Thank you for that. And again, for those of you who didn't receive that specific email, this is the message that we're giving to y'all today. To just allow you a moment to go over it. I have a link that I'm going to open up so that you can see what it looks like. But just some important messages right there. And the other thing that we wanted to talk about was what we're calling a content or edit change freeze. And I'm going to allow you a moment to look at that. And again, don't worry, these notes will be provided to you. The recording will be provided so if you needed to revisit. Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so I'm going to go back.
Hey, Cecilia, can you just jump back there? I also wanted to kind of make a point here too, specific for the power users group on that content freeze. So again, getting back to what I just said, you can imagine we'd want to set expectations for the many that, hey, there may be changes or adjustments we need to make after your upgrade or what have you. And so expect that, 24 to 48 hours after the upgrade, we'd still like you, the lower intensity user, to not expect to go back in there and make a lot of changes. Now, in practice, that's my hope, is not that that's how long that'll take. Hopefully in practice, we are notifying people pretty quickly after the upgrade to say, yep, you're all done, nothing's different. Now you can go in there and log in to D10 and your site was up the whole time. So particularly for a lot of you, and some of our more intensive sites, we're going to be, as we did with a last upgrade, kind of kid gloving it and making sure that everything is looked over and working. So I know that's some of you guys have expressed some concern about the content freeze before and a content freeze after, and we'll be working to minimize that that period as much as possible.
All right, so this is what all of the 500 users receive. This is the schedule. Again, if there are any edits that need to take place, please let me know. I know that there is conversation. There's a lot of things happening in the chat, and we will make sure that we address all of those. But just be mindful that these sites are not going to start rolling out until Monday, 23rd October. So we do have some reaction time to say this is a date that is coming around so that you could, plan ahead. And they're not all going live on the 23rd, right? So this is going to be from the 23rd of October until the 20th, the week of the 20th of November. So it's not going to be all sites at once, and it's not going to be just, downtime that is not reasonable. The reason why we ask you to give me a minute is so that I could go into your site and kind of kick the tires and see that everything looks good before I send you an email that says, hey, everything is a-okay. Right. So we're confident in the process. We have already had some dry runs and we're good to go. But what we want for you to do is to allow us some time to look at your site, and then you will receive an email from us. So yeah, this is what it will look like. I know it's super long. There's 12 pages, but there's a lot of sites. So again, there's a lot of sites in here, and we have tried our best to find a single point of contact for each one of these that is actively in there in the weeds, touching the sites, so that we can send that personal message. Additionally, we're using this pug to provide you with the messaging. So again, this will go out on a follow-up to the pug. So no surprise there. I know it is 12 pages. It is pretty long, but there it is. All right, so let me just minimize this. Give me 1 second. Go back to my other screen. All right. So just to reiterate, you don't have to do anything to your site in preparation for the upgrade, right? Just wanted to reiterate, nothing has to be done in preparation for the upgrade. Okay. And again, what Dave was mentioning, your Drupal 9 production environment website is going to move into Drupal 10 production environment. And we have had one training session since the last PUG. It took place on the 11th of October, but we wanted to share that we have bi-weekly sessions from now until the end of first quarter. So it's not going to end in February. It's going to keep on going as long as you all need them. And if the interest wanes, then we would just taper those sessions. Additionally, the CMS team, Sunny and I, have availability to provide training sessions for your organization per request. So if you wanted to do a deeper dive and you had a list of a bunch of questions that you want to ask, we could schedule a session to address those. And I know that I'm going to be meeting with Corey after this PUG, and there are a few others that have requested that. So yeah, go ahead, and if you have additional questions and you want for us to provide you a training on Drupal 10 and how, just to show you how things are looking in Drupal 10, we're happy to do that. Okay. So this is here a little snippet of what the new training site is going to look like, and I'll share that in the future. But these are the dates. It is a recurring item. So if you wanted to take the recurring item and put it on your schedule and accept all of them or decline a few, it is all good. We will see you as much as you want to see us. So, alrighty. We had, believe it or not, we had another Drupal 9 core upgrade. It just went out this week. and it was a security, a core security. It was 9.5.11. So that's just to keep you updated. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi, sorry, just jumping back to the schedule, I want to reiterate, I know some of you have asked about changes to the schedule or concerns about the date or what have you. Just to reiterate that, we're trying to keep the schedule as is, but for this power users group, et cetera, if you have an issue with that date, please don't be quiet, quiet, reach out and say, hey, I'm not sure this works for us, or I'm concerned. We don't think there's a lot for you to do, but that's okay too. So we have some flexibility to move things around. I just wanted to get this, Cecilia, before you move forward in the agenda. And so if there's concerns about the schedule, or Tricia, I know if you see, like you said, there was something that on there that's not going to go, or there's a change or what have you, please let us know. Just reach out, and because we're going to be doing this for the better part of a month, and going through this every day. So let us know. Hopefully for you, it's one thing and it's on a certain date, and it runs pretty smoothly. But now's the time to be letting us know if you think there's issues with that. Thanks.
Absolutely. And again, I'm going to say this because I say it 100 times, but just use partner support. That way we have greater visibility to your request instead of sending an email directly to me. Because if I am away from Outlook and I'm mainly working in Jira, I need to make sure, in partner support, I need to make sure that we have visibility to your request. Okay. So again, anything that you see that is amiss or any concerns, and thank you for those of you who have been sending me a bunch of requests for partner support. I really appreciate that. Just continue to use it so that it doesn't just go into my email. And then if I am away or out of the office, it is a delayed response. Sunny and the rest of the PM are resources that are available to you. So just make sure that you use partner support. And sorry, I have a frog in my throat. But again, we only had one thing that was very important. It was the core upgrade, that the core that we did this past week, and that was the only feature functionality that we put. And the notes are already on cms.colorado.gov for your review. The next power users group is scheduled. This hasn't changed. This was scheduled from before, so this slide is exactly like you saw last. PUG is December the 13th. Again, it will be recorded and made available to all. And now, go ahead. We have all the time for questions, and hopefully we can provide satisfactory answers. And I'm going to ask Sunny and Alexa to start to work those questions out.
We have a hand up from Krista, real quick first off. So Krista, go ahead and let us know your question.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm with CDPHE, and my questions are, and I'm new to the division, so if some of this has already been shared, I apologize. I just may have missed some things in the process. But I seem to lack some clarity as to whether the front end of the website is going to change at all. When this migration happens, I was going through this process with another organization, so in our case it was, but here I'm not sure if it's going to, and I'm getting questions. And then I know there's going to be continual training. And again, I lack a little bit of clarity about, in addition to this, how the back end is going to function. So meaning when we log in after the migration date, is it going to look like it looks now? And I guess that's going to be revealed in the training for sure. So maybe I'm jumping ahead. Everybody's brains are going and everybody's asking questions. So I'm trying to manage my team and my own questions as well. But just trying to understand how the back end is going to function, because as I heard in a previous meeting, the rows and cards feature will still be there, but we're going to have to migrate it to the new CMS. So if you can shed some light on those two things, that would be fabulous. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your questions, Krista. Is Josie part of your team? Well, we have a whole training scheduled for November 1st to address all things CDPHE. If I think this is, yeah, it's already on my calendar. So we're going to have a one-on-one specific to your agency question, because I believe there's 60 of y'all. That's a big group. So we're going to be meeting one-on-one. I did provide a link to a little training that we offered on the 11th, but when you sign on, you will use your Google sign-on. That will not change. When you are looking at your, what they call the back end, There are some color changes. Instead of having the admin navigation be silver, it's now the same color of the top, but those are just visual things. The functionality remains the same, and I am happy to go through those questions once we meet on November the 1st. Additionally, next week, Wednesday, there's going to be another little training session, and we're going to go over that as well. The Rosen cards have already been configured for Drupal 10. So those have not been deprecated. And we have not made a decision as to when they're gonna go away. And that is not something that we're focusing at the moment. We're trying to make sure that everybody is confident that the Rosen cards are going to display the content just like they did in Drupal 9. And of course, we're gonna have a ton of different questions, but the display, the end user would not see a difference because Rosen cards have already been brought over to Drupal 10. So when we're talking about new features, we are excited about layouts. We think that layouts is going to be so much beneficial to all of us. And I'm a layouts cheerleader, and I want for you to be excited about moving content over to layouts, but not necessarily in the same conversation about Rosen cards. Layouts is a new content type that you can leverage, and you and your organization can make a roadmap as to when you're moving content. And whenever we are ready to move away from that or have additional information for y'all as to when or how that is going to happen, we will share that with you. But for right now, Rosen cards are not going anywhere. They have already been moved over, and the content will look exactly the same.
Okay, so the front end of the site will look absolutely no different.
Yeah, it's the same. Let me see if I could.
And I also was on a previous meeting where I thought I heard that the Rosen cards, all the content we had a year to get all that content moved. So I don't know if that was a Tyler, Colorado thing or that was a CDPHE thing. So I just remember hearing that, and maybe I heard that incorrectly, but I remember writing that down because I thought, holy cow. And then the next thing I wanted is I've signed up for these groups, but I'm not getting the meeting invites. So if there's somebody I could connect with outside of this meeting, I don't want to take up time from anybody to make sure. And I know others are having the same issue. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, real quick about the Rosen cards, just because this comes up, and I don't think we can be too repetitive and clarifying because I appreciate the intensity that could come along with it. It's our expectation that at some point in the future for Drupal 10, Rosen cards will not be primarily supported, and we should expect that content management within the platform may go away. Or won't be the preferred way to manage content. You'll want to use layouts. It's important to say that is not imminent. And we also appreciate that, one, if there was the requirement to move content from Rosen cards to layouts, that could be a massive amount of work. And so we're getting through the D10 upgrade, and then we'll come back at the end of this year, beginning of next, and try to lay out what the outlook is for that. But it won't be like, hey, it's coming in January or February. It'll be far off in the distance with lots of planning and training. There's also our initiative and effort to try to investigate what options there are for facilitating a move for Rosen cards to go away. So again, we have a large group of users and the different ways that people use, but we're certainly focused on the intense users that are part of this call when we think about that. So it's not to dismiss it by any means. It's just that, hey, Rosen cards and its future is a conversation for after the D10 upgrade, and it's not imminent for something to lose sleep over, but it is very important, and we'll have to make sure that sufficient amount of time and energy is committed to it to make sure it's handled well. But I don't want that having you losing sleep right now. And then separately, to Celia's points, we'll do one-on-one with you and make sure that you're set up for the right emails and the right calls, so that you're a part of this group and get notified correctly. So that Rosen cards thing, just jumping back to it, you mentioned, that's not a CDPHE thing. That's a Tyler, Drupal platform. It's also Drupal wide. Drupal 10 is going with layouts as kind of its core. So this is what happens in the Drupal environment is it'll shift and change and flex, all in the name of having a better tool. But we as stewards of it need to be mindful of what that means for our users like yourself.
And there's one little point, Krista, that you mentioned about accessibility to the meetings and to information. This is cms.colorado.gov, and I try to have everything from the platform releases to any updates to any training resources available here. Now, this is a link to the Microsoft. If you look at the bottom left corner of your screen, you will notice that this is pointing out to a Microsoft Teams recurring meeting. So if by some reason you haven't been added to the list, just send. I know that I saw your email on the chat flash. We will add you to the party. And if you don't get it there, hey, here are the links. Additionally, if you have any additional team members that need to access, again, let me know their email addresses and I'll go ahead and add them. I mean, the more the merrier, right? So the more people get the information from the source, the less confusion, right? The more direct, the more we can help clarify whatever questions you have. And to let you know, there is a link to that upgrade schedule right here. So if for some reason you did not get the email because you weren't the point of contact that is touching the site or the people who got the email on Monday, we have this to provide you the information, and we also have it on the cms.colorado.gov website. It is a link that is going to be updated regularly, so keep an eye on it. And if you have any questions, Oscar, I saw your question flash through. Feel free to ask. I'm going to stop talking now so that I can get some questions from the audience.
Awesome. We have a couple more hands. The next one is from Danielle.
Hi, I'm just wondering, is layouts actually going to be ready when Drupal 10 migrates over for us? Because the last thing I saw was not ready. Like, it didn't even have cell padding. Like, is it going to have things like radius corners? Is it going to have a rich text editor? Are the basic blocks going to have all the same functionality? I noticed there was only one link icon in the WYSIWYG bar. Are we still going to have the same ability to view the source code dynamically, et cetera, et cetera? Is it going to be ready is my question, because I am going to start transitioning all of my pages to layouts as soon as I have that ability, because I'm not going to wait for some undefined point in the future when rows and cards is just going to vanish. So, and you've told us before that there's no guarantee that we're going to have a migration tool to actually automatically transition any of our content. We're going to actually have to manually, physically rebuild all of our pages. So I want to make sure that that layouts tool is ready to go as soon as I have Drupal 10 access. That's my question.
The short and the concise answer is yes.
Well, it didn't look like it the last time we saw it, so.
Yes, I was sharing a website that was in the development environment to give you a preview for it. That was on the development. That site wasn't in the production environment. That was us trying to provide you with something that you could see. But once we're ready to roll out those sites on the 23rd, layouts will be ready for you to continue to move your content or create new content.
So what we saw in the development environment isn't reflective of what we'll actually see in the new Drupal 10 environment. Is that what I'm hearing?
It will be a better, improved, and ready for production environment. It will be the site as it is, and the developer teams are here. Barry, if you want to speak to that, and Alfredo, your layouts will be ready to go once you find us on the production environment.
Okay.
Hey, hopefully I can comfort everybody. This is Barry. Yeah, so tacking on to what Cecilia said, we are, yes, that wasn't a great representation. We are actively working on some last items on the layout builder. It's all block based, right? So your rounded corners, your styles that are on the Drupal 9 will be there. The WYSIWYG rich text editor will be ready to go with the link it, and I forget the other one that Scott mentioned. Sorry, I think it's a formatting thing. But yeah, everything will be all set and ready to go, just like you have in D9, but obviously in a different view because of layouts.
All right.
Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate that.
Perfect. Okay. Our next hand is from Carrie.
Hi, this is Carrie Ungama from OEdit. I just wanted to clarify on the schedule of our timing. I see that it's always kind of like a 3-day schedule that's kind of like a 3-day schedule. So do we need to close it 24 hours the day before that? Or
Yes.
is this 3 days inclusive? Okay, so it's like a total of 4 days. So we say no changes the day before the day that's on the schedule, and then no changes till the day after the day is on the schedule.
That is correct, because that
Great.
allows me to do quality assurance, and then
Yep.
we will have a message that says your upgrade is complete. And it might happen before than that. It
Yeah.
just allows me some time to just make sure that out of 500 sites, if we're doing 100 per week, that I could get to your site, just go through and I have quality assurance and business analyst manager on the call, and we have processes internally for how to do that. So we just want to make sure that we do diligence and we just run through the steps that they have developed for our testers, and then we will send you a confirmation message, as we did with the preparation message that we sent out.
Perfect. I just
hope-
wanted to clarify for the messaging that I'm going to send out
Yes.
to our teammates that they understand the time frame
Yep.
of when we can't do it. So I just wanted to make sure it's 4 days and not 3 days. So thank you for that.
And it might be less. It might be less than those 4 days, because the sooner that I get to your site, knowing the volume that we have with OEdit, yeah.
Thanks, Cecilia.
All right. Our next hand, forgive me, your name is not in your email, but JXR.
That's me, Joel Risberg
Oh,
of
Joel, okay.
HitTough. Thank you.
Sorry.
Could you confirm whether unpublished and archived pages will be migrated along with live pages? And same question for unlinked and unattached files.
That's a Barry and Alfredo development question.
Hey, Joel Isberg. Yeah, anything that your database, all the things in the database will be moved over, your files will be moved over. There's no discrepancy between moving from the database from Drupal 9 to Drupal 10. Nothing's getting compromised.
Okay. And just a quick follow-up is, in previous migrations, all page publish dates and file upload dates had reset to the date of migration. Is that likely to happen again this time?
I will have to confirm that, Alfredo. I don't know if you're around, but we'd have to look into that.
I don't think that
That's
the
okay.
dates reset, no.
Okay, that would be ideal. It just, we rely in many ways on being able to sort on date of publication and
Yeah.
date of upload.
Right, the updated dates and the published dates retain, they don't reset for any reason.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Alfredo. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you. All right. Last hand that I see is from Tom.
Yeah, just a quick question. I've embedded some Google Analytics tags on my web pages, and was wondering if the upgrade's going to affect any of those pages or the connection, if any.
No. Hey, Tonsberry. It won't, since it's in the database. It's probably in your body field. In the WYSIWYG. That will all be ported over. I mean, the only outlining issue would be if anything changes on the Google side, but none of the URL pathings or routes are going to change on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
I don't see any more hands or questions in the chat. If something pops to mind, don't be afraid to raise your hand or put something in there. But we are kind of at the bottom of the barrel with those.
Awesome. Well, the floor is open if anybody has any feedback. Just this is your time. We're going to start rolling out those sites starting on the 23rd of October. Whoops, another hand. Okay.
Yep, we got one from Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi there. I was just looking at my upgrade schedule, and I know it starts on a Monday, and maybe you've answered this, so I apologize. But does the 24 hours ahead for somebody who starts on a Monday mean I can't do websites updates on a Sunday or the Friday before?
That's a wonderful question, but for us, it's the Monday. And we're happy for those people who are going on Monday, unless you're in there on Sunday doing some type of last minute work. Alfredo, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify what that window means of the 3 days. It doesn't mean that you can't update your website. It just means that the changes that you make on your current D9 site, you won't see on the D10 site when things flip over. So you're not like completely frozen. It's just that we took the database from 3 days ago with that content and upgraded it to D10. So anything that you create for your production D9 site, after that, you'll have to recreate on D10.
Okay, thank you. That really helps. Appreciate it.
So just make sure that if you do have to make some updates on that Sunday evening, that you keep an eye on what it is that you're updating so that, you know, when if it didn't go over for some reason, you could just go, but it shouldn't be a problem. Do we have additional questions or feedback? I see there's a hand up, but I don't, let me just, do you see a hand up?
It's still Laura's hand. I do have one question from Francie in the chat. It is, are you making a copy of the D9 site as a backup for each site? So will we be retaining the D9 version of the sites as a backup for anybody? I believe that's the question, Francie. If I'm not communicating that right, just jump in and let me know.
No, you're right. I'm just wondering, are you guys making a copy of the D9 version of the websites in case something happens during the transition and the upgrade? We don't lose any content. So
right, that D9 database doesn't go anywhere. It's still sitting on the old hardware, so it's not being wiped out.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, the Drupal 9 application, or the, in Acquia, we don't have a end date for like decommissioning that entire application. So it's not going away anytime soon. So you still be able to probably reference any old information, from the UI. Thank you. Good question.
Any additional, I think I heard a little chime.
I have one more from Cohen in the chat. I'm just going to read the whole thing. He says, I manage 3 Drupal sites. Each of my sites has a different upgrade date. I received a single email announcing the upgrade schedule, but I will receive separate emails telling me when my different sites are done being upgraded. So you should receive an email for each individual site because they are on separate days. So you should be notified for each one.
Yeah, Colin, for you, it might be because we had behavioral health and we have a few. So I have to look back and see who we have in our database as a point of contact. So let us have a little sidebar, you and I, Cohen, and I will shoot you an email verifying who the point of contact will be for all 3 sites to make sure that I send you those communications. Does that answer? Awesome.
I'm not seeing anything else. Again, we still have some time, so if anything comes to mind while we're here, feel free to drop it into the chat or raise your hand, even if it's less of a question and more of a piece of feedback. Oh, I see a hand from Krista.
Hi again. I thought at some point we were going to see the back end of the site. We were going to have access into it. Did I hear that wrong? I heard that in a previous meeting and I've not seen anything. So just curious if we can go peek.
Oh, you mean the request for sites to the staging environment? Yes,
Yes.
that is a
Yes.
request that we have there's an entire schedule for that to happen because we know that not everybody is going to go on the 23rd of October, and you want to get in there because there's 500 sites, and it's going to take a minute for us to get to you if you're one of those L to Z type of people, right? So what we're doing is we're making sure that we mitigate a few of the final issues that we wanted to have so that we are at perfection, and then we're going to start rolling those up. So again, all of the requests that we have, I think we have 8 requests that we have recorded. And I know that people had about maybe 5 or 6 sites, and that would have been a resource constraint. So we're trying to make sure that we find, if you're an agency that has a bunch of different sites, a site that has a lot of traffic, that we put that one in the staging environment so that you can look at the back end and get an experience before your actual upgrade date. So yes, we are aware of those, but we're not quite ready for prime time because the staging environment is slightly different from production environment, and we want to make sure that it is a true representation of what the production environment experience will be. Speaking to the training that we offered last week that was done with the site in the development environment, that is not truly representative of what is in production. So that's the reason for the delay. But thank you for the question.
Thank you for the answer. I appreciate that.
Sure. I think we're coming close to a pregnant pause, an awkward pause where there aren't any questions, and that is so surprising for the power users group. But just know that if you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, through feedback, I personally grow. And if I don't know what I'm missing, I can't fix it. So please, if you have any questions, concerns, or just want to vent or whatever it is, because I know that, hey, just send us a message to partnersupport@www.colorado.gov, and we will make sure that we get back to you. If there aren't any additional questions, I'm going to give it back to our amazing leadership. We have Dave and Alexa on the call. Anything that we're missing, gentle folk? Anything from the Drupal development team that we're missing? Anything?
No.
Anything from our QA business analysts, amazing people?
Oh, you would have to call me out. Hi, everybody. My first pug. No, I think we covered everything very well.
Well, thank you very much for everybody for taking the time to be here. I know this was a kind of last minute PUG, but our scheduled PUG will be on 13 December, and we will continue to have those training sessions bi-weekly, start on the 11th, and they will go until you guys want them. Reach us at partnersupport.www.colorado.gov, and we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week. Again, I will post this onto YouTube, and I will have these out to you by Friday, or whenever Microsoft does their thing with the video. So, oh, hey, Sharon, do you have anything for us? So nice to see you.
I just wanted to say thank you and have a good day, everybody.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Have a good day, guys. I'll stay
Thanks,
here
everybody.
until everybody signs off. Bye, guys.
Take it easy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.